players, and all of a sudden they have to play roles, and they have to have 40-second shifts, and they play 2 minutes all their life.
Well, and again, that comes down to what? That comes down to coaching. That comes down to the players' ability to buy in and understand that their roles constantly change because I mean, anyone, especially with the World Juniors in Canada, I mean, they could have busloads of NHL players who were stars and juniors who, when they finally did get to the NHL, maybe they were third, fourth line guys. Maybe they were power play guys that never saw a power play again, but understood that they had a role and that's what it was about. I think it's more about an ego and the ability to be a bit humble and realize that if whatever we do is for the good of the team and it's not your role as a player to decide what is for the good of the team, that's what a coach and a coaching staff are for. If you can get yourself to buy into that, then you can have a measure of success. If not, you won't be happy as a player. The coach will never be happy with you, and the whole thing will just be an experience, poor experience that could have been probably a good experience.
Tom, does ego play a part in your coaching? Are there problems with egos and players accepting their roles? Your speaker's off, Tom.
I think everybody has an opinion where they belong. So you have to explain them. You have to meet with them and talk to them about things. But it's not a problem with our team. We were very careful when we picked the team about who we chose. And we had a little bit of knowledge because coaching them earlier and also Emily coached a whole bunch of them in the spring. So we tried to avoid people that were going to be difficult, almost uncoachable. So.
And I think that's such a great point, and I think that's overlooked as we, are on this expressway to how many points can you get? How skilled are you? I think there's that point that maybe isn't taught enough, but if you're not considered coachable at a certain level, there's going to be somebody just as good as you who is coachable, or maybe it's not quite as good as you, but because they are coachable, the coach is excited about that player and improving them. So you may get skipped over. I mean, I think we've all seen that.
Parents should also be careful.
Yes.
Because a lot of parents that screw their kids up, their chance of making teams because the coach the next year doesn't want to deal with them because they'll have a reputation of doing things that you don't want to live with for 7 months of the year. I saw that happen this year. And some of my girls from last year who are very good didn't get picked up by Calgary teams, so they're playing at sports schools, and they're better than players that did end up on our AAA team because they're trouble with the parents.
Yeah, I mean, I remember years back sitting at a tryout where a friend of mine had come down from a prep school to kind of watch the kids and see them, and liked a particular kid, but there was also a parent in the stands who was just couldn't keep their mouth shut. And he asked me, so whose father is that? And I told him who it was, and he immediately just put a line through the kid on his on the roster. Like, I'm not going to work, like you said, I'm not going to waste my time dealing with that.
Well, I told the story before about kid I work with playing pro. They wouldn't take him in Salzburg because the American coach owned his buddies around the Boston area that he played for. and said the dad calls us all the time what line he should be playing with and blah, blah, blah. And this kid was a good player, 6'2", 215, all the skills in the world. And they wouldn't take him in Salzburg because of that. And then I helped him get to Finland. His dad's calling the coach in Finland where he should be playing. And the kid, like he got kind of blackballed from Europe because it spread to everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I talked to his dad. I said, "What are you doing?" You know, because his dad had played some hockey, and yeah, the kid kind of screwed up his hockey career.
Peter and Tom, I I don't know if you went through this, but I think I did. When I used to pick players, I used to think, "Oh, I can help them. I can change them." And sometimes you have no choice. You only got to pick what you've got, but I'd find some coaches take on the challenge of problem kids, and it's sort of like a teacher. You want all these students to begin with, and you're not going to get them, but you sure like to have kids with A attitudes that can learn from you. But there are some kids who haven't been raised the same way in terms of work ethic, respect, responsibility. And some coaches think they can make that difference. You ever gone through that, making that mistake, either of you?
I've gone through that, but I'm not going to call it a mistake because I think if you handle that kid properly, most of the time you can get that kid on board. Not all the time. It's been my experience. Most of the time you can get that kid on board. Because very often, like Tom, I don't know what the relationship was that individual had, like with his dad that you're talking about, that boy, but I gotta hope or think at some point he asked his father to just stop. And
I don't know if he did.
because we've had that discussion where this is like when I coach at the midget level, talking to kids, this is your world right here. It's not your parents' world. They pay for it. I get that. And you'd be very grateful that they do that. But this is your world. So this is your opportunity to start to grow and develop as a person, to be able to advocate for yourself. And that method has overall been very effective. Not effective all the time, but certainly very effective. And it has been successful in many situations for me.
Yeah, well, this particular kid, I couldn't ask to work with anybody that was more cooperative. I mean, I had him carrying 5 pucks and 5 different things, kind of balls, puck, everything at the same time, doing stuff, really weird stuff, that ideas I picked up from Swedish, in Sweden, and all sorts of things. And he did everything. Gaston came and worked on his skating with him. You couldn't ask for a better guy. And I know Morris Lukowicz worked on him with him too, and he said, "Great kid." So as far as being himself, but I don't know if he ever asked his dad to stop. But it kind of screwed his career. Like he ended up going to that real top business school in Chicago. It was a what was it called? Anyways, he does
The
really
Wharton
well.
School of Business?
Who?
Was it Wharton School of Business?
I think so.
Yeah.
I know I wrote a bunch of letters of reference for him for different things, but he's doing all right in life. But his hockey career kind of got ruined by his dad.
Yeah, and I would, again, even like I say, this was a lot at the midget level. I would tell the guys that it's okay you're not disrespecting your parent when you're saying, this is my life, and I know you care about me, I know you love me, and you're trying to help, but what you are doing is a detriment to me. It's hurting my chances. It's hurting my ability to play well, and you want to see me play well. If you want to see me play well, I need you to support me and stop talking to the coaches. I can
Yeah.
do that. Like, it's hard, but it's
Well,
a,
I didn't know his dad was doing this till after I'd worked with him,
oh, sure. Yeah.
because I'd worked with him before I went to Salzburg. And we needed a guy like him. Uh, and I threw his name out there, and the American coach checked with his coaches. And, like I said, then I helped him get to Finland. And
How old was he at the time, Tom?
well, he graduated from one of the top schools in the US there, his
So,
undergraduate degree.
well, when he was going through that with you, how old was he? Like when he was,
He was probably 22,
right? I mean,
23.
at 22, 23 years of age, it would never enter your mind that somebody's dad is doing this to a 22 and 23-year-old.
Yeah, well, I didn't really even know the reason in Salzburg, because like, Gene Riley, he called
Yeah.
the coach in one of the Div 1 schools. And he just got the idea, you don't want this kid on your team. And I never got explained to me why. I found out from the Finnish, because what happened in Finland, that his dad was calling the coaches all the time, where he should be playing and who should be playing with who. And that's the last thing they wanted.
Yeah.
So I guess the point is that no matter what level.
Yeah, 100% no matter what level, right? I mean, that's a shame. I had the same thing at prep school when coaches were recruiting our players. Rarely did they ask you, you're a coach, you're going to recruit, you're a scout. You're not going to ask me if the kid can play. Because if you have to ask me that, then you probably shouldn't be doing your job. So the other questions are, what kind of kid is he with his teammates? And then the other question that I began towards the end there in the mid 2010s to 2015s was, tell me about the parents. How are the parents to deal with? Like, that was their concern. That was their concern. And you're going to be honest, right? As a coach, because it's your job, your credibility. So you're going to just say the way that it is. But that was,
I've read that some coaches, really well-known coaches, in their home visit, they really watch how the kid talks to their parent.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're respectful and all this kind of stuff, because that's kind of an indication how they're going to be when you're dealing with them.
Yes, for sure.
And I think sometimes it's the forgotten thing. Like, I get on my page here, I get stuff from these guys that want to counsel kids about playing junior and this, that, and the other thing all the time, eh?
Right.
You guys want me to post basically ads for them, and not a whole lot about character building and how what kind of a person that other teams. I mean, you're living with someone for college. You're living with them all year. And you coach in minor hockey's 6, 7, 8 months. You don't want some guy that's going to be like my last year at SAIT. I had a girl that destroyed the team, and the athletic director wouldn't let me get rid of her. And at the exit meetings, every single player said it was fun, except so and so was ruining our dressing room all the time.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, you're with those kids all the time, like a university. You're with those kids all the time. I don't want to go to work every day with someone that's not on the same page when it comes to what we're doing. Doesn't mean you got to go out and have dinner with them every night and hang out with them in the dorms. But once we enter that rink, we're either a team or we're not. And if we're not, and it's because of a certain individual's behavior, that individual can't remain.
Yeah. And that's why you have the team covenant and all that, and they got to stick to it. Like, it's got to be the guiding for the year. And same thing with the one thing that Wally does, that the parents sign off on something that, so you have something to refer to if there's problems happening.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have that here. We have the coaches have a code of conduct they have to sign. The parents have a code of conduct that they have to sign. And, very often during the season, at some point, you're politely reminding both groups that they actually did sign that.
Yeah.
Peter,
know,
Tom, when is the last time you've had to recruit and interview players with parents? Or have you?
well, coaching college sometime the parents were around. Most of the time it was because I didn't have the budget to travel. I didn't have the budget to travel here, there, and everywhere because it was all over Western Canada that I basically got my players from. So it was mostly just dealing with the player and talking to their coach, what kind of player they are. But sometimes coaches want to be able to advertise that, yeah, these players are playing college from my team. So they might be the biggest idiot in the world, but that coach won't tell you because they want to say, yeah, so many players graduated from my midget team and they're now playing college in the girls or junior for the boys. So, most coaches are honest, but they're not all honest.
Right, I agree with that. And for me, Wally, most of the time it was just the individual player. I mean, there were some conversations with parents on the phone because I would always tell the kids, your parents are pick up the phone, tell your parents to call if they have questions for me because I'm an open book. I said, if it's about how much playing time your kid's going to get, are they going to be on the power play? Then I don't want your parents to call me. But if they want to know about the school, they want to know about my philosophy, they want to know what our culture is on our team, happy to talk to you. And also some would travel with the kids if they were, so if they were close enough, they would come. If they were very far away, they would come. And if they were within 3 hours, they usually wouldn't come.
Yeah. And even the kids aren't always truthful to you.
No, for sure.
My last year, I recruited this. She was going to be a star goalie. I saw, that was during COVID. I saw videos playing in their small area, and she's stoning Bantam AAA boys, some who had been drafted, and she comes and plays, and she has a baby at the end of September. There wasn't a lot of truth being said there. So
Yeah. The other thing too is, and I don't know where this comes from. Maybe it's the coaches, maybe it's the parents. When you come to visit and you badmouth your current coach to me,
yeah,
the interview is pretty much over at that point.
yeah. Well, that's how Bob Murdoch told me. That's how he ended up being assistant with the Flames after his playing career, because he said a lot of guys that got interviewed, ex-players, and they were bad mouthing the other coach. And he said that he got hired, and then he said, you're the only guy that we talked to that didn't bad mouth, the coach, and that impressed us.
Yeah. It's a simple thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't make yourself look good by trying to make somebody else look bad.